what I'm doing is I'm trying to get to the bottom of it, really. And I want to get the public opinion on steroid use within the quilting world. I think it could become a problem. And I don't know that, I don't think I would respect a best of show quilt or a first prize quilt if that person is on steroids, because I think they can quilt better if they're on steroids.
You ready? No, I'm going to start taking steroids if it don't help.
Don't you think about Hans Vliegermaker from the Netherlands when he was banned from the Olympics, and that recent scandal with the Olympic ice skater with the. So how do you feel?
So quilters can't use steroids?
Well, what do you think? Do you think do you use steroids?
No.
And if your quilt was in this show, do you feel that perhaps, do they have a better chance?
What qualifies as steroids?
Well, I don't know, painkillers for your back or something like that.
Okay, so since since I just had surgery, are you saying that if I was on painkillers?
Well, are you on steroids right now with your surgery?
No.
No, so see, I would think that you would be eligible to enter this show.
Okay.
But how do you feel about a winning quilter using steroids?
Like ban steroids?
Yes.
Okay, so that would be wrong.
It would be wrong because they could quilt better than everybody else.
I guess so.
Well, maybe.
Hans Vliegermaker from Norway, he was ousted from the Olympics, and a Russian skater gal, they're not allowed to use steroids or those kinds of things. And the quilter that won in this category was on steroids. Back pain. She had back pain and she's on steroids.
That makes a difference. Anything that makes you creative.
Oh, so mushrooms or smoking some marijuana.
It's just cotton on steroids, right?
What's on steroids?
Cotton on steroids.
I understand that the quilter themselves is a steroid user. They use steroids, and I think that they can be a better quilter because of it. You remember Hans Klingermeyer from Norway, and he was banned from the Olympics, and that Russian skater, all that. I think this particular person was having back issues, and then they started taking steroids for the pain. And
pain is something else.
Okay.
You got to get
Are you going to give everybody in here a lifted?
There's a question. That is a real question. Do we have to have? Do they have to have a steroid test before they enter the quilt?
I don't think that steroid use as a quilter is giving an advantage to that quilter.
Yeah.
I don't think what we're doing is getting an advantage of that. And we do things over such a long period of time. Like sometimes it takes me years to get a quilt done.
It could be a lot of steroids.
Yeah. Well, years to get something done. And I may have started it not on steroids and ended it because I had to have knee surgery or something. And,
So you're okay at being at a disadvantage?
Okay I'm okay at being at a disadvantage because I don't think that the steroid use is
making a difference.
Do
you think a prize-winning quilter should be using steroids?
Steroids mask pain.
Right.
And
the stitches aren't going to be any better.
I don't think the stitches will be any better based on that.
Because maybe this particular person did use performance-enhancing steroids and won a ribbon.
I would not know. It depends on what the actual drug is.
We should be tested before we enter our quilts?
I'm up for that. I have nothing to hide. So.
Yeah.
And then listen to loud music.
Well, it depends on the music, don't you think? Because
is that a thing?
You're okay if they're, mushrooms or whatever. They're, hallucinogenics and all of that.
Just heavy metal.
Okay.
Performance enhancing steroids.
That's what I'm talking about. Hans Vliegermaker from Norway was ousted from the Olympics, and that Russian figure skater. So it's the same thing. So we're in quilting, and don't you think you have an advantage on being a better quilter if you're on steroids? Just think how much more perfect the stitches could be if you're using steroids. The skiers can jump higher, and the skaters can do more quads or whatever.
Drug testing
I'm asking you. That's what I'm asking. Should there be drug testing in quilting? No, so then steroids are perfectly acceptable.
I don't think it's anybody's...
Or, one lady today said that if they wanted to be on mushrooms, she didn't care.
But you're judging the product, the end result, the artwork.
not the person.
Well, isn't that what they do in figure skating? They're looking at the final
But it's
product.
a physical competition. I think they're apples and oranges.
So it's okay to use banned substances, and it's okay to use steroids in
No,
quilting.
I don't think it's okay to use banned substances
Materials
in the quilt,
in the final
depending
product.
on the rules that are established for the quilt.
All right, so here's the big kicker. This particular quilter is very much rumored to have been using steroids.
Seriously?
I'm serious. And I just feel like, Hans Fingerklinger from Norway was ousted from the Olympics, that Russian skater, all of that problem. And I just feel, well, I don't know, what is your feeling about quilters using steroids to make their quilts?
I think you're pulling my leg.
I think so too. I don't know how that would really enhance your quilting.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
don't
like for
know.
back pain,
Right.
and suddenly you're just
Sometimes-
able. I think you could probably stitch better if you had
Sometimes quilting, those
steroids.
things is wrestling a bear, right?
So I mean, it's probably even down to: do you think that there should be a drug testing before you enter your? You don't think drug testing would be a good idea?
Not for quilting.
So you're okay with steroids?
Well, I don't know.
Now, what about smoking mushrooms or whatever? I mean,
Oh, that's fine.
You're fine with that. So all of that's fine. So that's a good idea. But steroids, yes or no?
I don't.
You're okay with steroids?
I think so.
Okay, and
Sure.
We're not swinging baseball bats here.
Hans Klingerfinger from Norway was ousted from the Olympics. That Russian figure
Yes,
skater.
yes.
Okay,
This is the Olympics of quilting.
exactly.
So
that's-
yes, I would say ban steroids for quilting on
ban
quilting machines.
steroids. So, what do you feel about the steroids?
I think it ought to be banned on steroids. No.
No steroids.
No
used.
steroids.
Because they can make better quilts on steroids
Sure.
than the people that are not using the steroids. I think it should. Now, what about drug testing?
I probably wouldn't do that.
Well, how do we know if they're on steroids?
Well,
Do you think all the
just
winners
test
should be
for
You may, have,
steroids.
you may have to get a list of their medicines that they're on. So that
Get
could
a
be-
list of medicines and include that with the entry form.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
reasonable.
yeah.
Hans Fingermacher from Norway. Hans Fingerklinger from Norway. Think about Hans Fingermacher from the Netherlands. You remember Hans Klingermeyer from Norway? Hans Fingermacher from Norway. Hans Fingermacher from Norway. Hans Klingerfinger from Norway.